Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, my name is Mike Piwowarski. I am your co-host from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most. Here on The Rundown, where we bring you conservative views and 2A news, or something like that. 2A news, 2A conservative views, something like that. You're going to enjoy it, I promise. I'm sorry I'm a little distracted because today's a very special Tuesday.
Yes, it is. It is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum.
Yum, yum, yummity, yum.
Love that song.
I do. I very much enjoy that song. Very, very much. I know that it gives some of our viewers a bit of a heartache, but hey, tacos kind of give you a heartache or heartburn from time to time.
Well, you should have ease up on the red sauce if you're having heartache. Or if you're having heartache with the tacos,
There you
go. It's the acidic, it sits in the red sauce. I was going to bring a taco to the show today, but I saved one from lunch, but it didn't make it. It did not make it.
It did not make it.
Didn't make it. Didn't make it.
As he wipes the crumbs from his beard.
It sat there, and I could hear it in the fridge talking to me, like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" And I opened it up, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And it was like, "I'm lunch." And I was like, "You're right. Let me get rid of you." So I ate it.
Sometimes it just be like that. Sometimes you can't have a taco just sitting around. Not a taco. A taco cannot just sit around. Not for long.
No, it's a lonely taco.
Right.
There's a country song right there. One lonely taco.
there is a country taco. A Tex-Mex song.
One lonely taco. One lonely taco in a border town. There we go.
There you go.
Right. Okay.
Hey, folks, before we get started with the show, do me a favor. Please make sure to share however you are enjoying the show, whether you're watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, on OpsLens, or on Spotify. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or iHeartRadio, however you're listening to us, please make sure to share. Encourage your friends to partake in the program. Please do.
You know, when I hear Apple Podcasts, I get hungry too.
I don't know. Something about apples just do not sound satisfying to me when it comes to food. Unless I'm starving.
When I hear Apple Podcasts, I think like a little pastry, like a little apple
a little pastry,
like a little, it's like a little apple pot pie, like a little apple pot pie
podcast. It's like fishing for an apple pie, an apple podcast.
That's it, Apple Podcast. Yeah.
There you go. All right, well, hey, let's go ahead and get on into the news so that folks can check it out. All right, our first story up today. If you have been paying attention at all, then you know that Elon Musk has purchased Twitter. He now owns it. It is no longer with Wall Street. And interestingly enough, there are a few, more than a few, high-profile folks, mostly, actually not mostly, solely largely on the left, who have decided that, they're going to go ahead and leave Twitter. They're not going to be on Twitter anymore. Now, not everybody's doing it. Not everybody said they're leaving, but some have, in fact, said that they're leaving. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. One example here, you have Jamila Jill. She said she's leaving Twitter. She says, he got it. I would like this to be what lies here in my last tweet. Just really any excuse to show pics of Beryl. So in other words, showed pictures of her dog.
Who is that? Who is that?
I have no idea who she is.
All right, neither do I. Okay. Gotcha.
There you go. She's an actress.
Oh.
She has 1 million followers. By the way, I I could probably click on it, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts she may not be using Twitter but her account has not been deleted, which means she will be back.
No idea who she is.
Yeah, I have no idea who she is either. But evidently someone known on the left.
Right.
Charles Blow, whoever's Charles Blow, I don't know if he's a coke dealer or whatever.
Chucky Blow. Hey,
Chucky
Blow,
Chucky
how's it
Blow.
going?
So he's saying he's going to say goodbye to Twitter. I'll just say this. People saying that they're going to leave Twitter are kind of remind me of those very same folks who said that if Donald Trump wins, they're going to leave the United States, and you saw they didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, right. I'll say this, Craig. Twitter is not an airport. There's no reason to announce your departure. Just go.
There is.
Just go. Just go.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting. So, and then you got some people who actually left, but then are denying that they left. And here's a great example, right? Now, you have not heard of Sean King, or maybe you have. Sean King.
Is he wait. Sean King. He's the champion snowboard kid.
No.
Okay.
King is a black radical who's been on Twitter for a long period of time. He was very popular. Now, here's the
is that his
part.
picture?
So he deleted his account yesterday, right? And then he deleted his. And I know he deleted his account because I went to check out his account yesterday because I tagged him in something that I replied to something from Elon Musk, right? And his account was gone. Now all of a sudden you see it's back with 187 followers. Now, mind you, this was a guy who had several 100,000, if not millions of followers, right? And he's trying to say, oh, well, I didn't go anywhere. Now, this may be the real him because it's still got the blue check mark right here. So it may still be him. But it's kind of funny because now he's replying and he's actually being kind of like nasty to people because I didn't go anywhere, you MFer, yada, yada, yada. So I decided to tweet a reply to him. And in my tweet, I basically said, yeah, right, you didn't delete your account because, clearly the real Sean King. What did I say? I said you're just some hack who's pretending to be somebody important. Of course, that probably then makes you a lot like the real Sean King.
There you go. There you go. Now that's Sean King. Hold on. Now, you sure that's a black guy? Because he's got a lot of lights on him. If he does. In that photo
yeah. Well, he's a light complected brother, kind of like myself.
All right.
Except I don't feel a need to kind of, take a picture with the lights brighter so that I look whiter.
He looks like he looks so white, he's so black, he's Irish. So
he's Irish. He's black Irish.
Black Irish. Oh, it was Sean White I was thinking of. I'm sorry.
You thinking of Sean
the
White.
champion snowboarder. Yeah. Champion snowboarder. I did a tweet today too, Craig. I haven't tweeted in probably 6 months or so. You have to give me the whole photo. I'll just tell you what my tweet was. I said, free Donald Trump. Bring back the mean tweets.
Bring back the mean tweets. Well, Donald Trump said he's not going to be back on Twitter. He's still trying to get Truth Social up and running, which I got to say, I am wholly frustrated with. In the very beginning, and I wasn't one of the first people to go sign up, but I went and I signed up, and my account still is not active.
Which platform?
Truth Social, his new social.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's right. I thought you said.
I wanted to check it out, but I'm like, dude, what's up?
Yeah, I'm on a bunch of them out there, and sometimes I go look at them. It's just, hey, what can you do? What can you do? Just get your own podcast. That's all.
Pretty much.
Do that. Get your own radio show. Say what you want to.
Pretty much. But anyway, liberals, if you guys leave Twitter, good luck trying to find a better platform. Trust us. Us conservatives looked for a better platform, and so far, nothing provides the quality that a Twitter does. But hey, maybe you'll find it. But also, maybe if you stay on Twitter, maybe you'll actually learn something. Mike, I was telling you before we came on, I had a conversation yesterday with one of my clients who is of liberal persuasion, and I just listening to this person who, by the way, is involved in media, and I made it very clear. I deal with media, conservative and liberal. I have to follow and read and watch it all, and I can tell you that there are clearly two different realities that are being portrayed in media, and you on the left Well, let's just put it this way: you have wholly swallowed the blue pill.
Right. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
In our, because these are our part-time gigs, these are our hobbies, right?
Right.
With the conservative stuff and doing the media and the radio shows and the podcast. Now, obviously, you have the actual serious elected official job there that you do as well. But do you just meet people, whether it's friends of friends or somebody in the course of your day, and they do want to start the debate, and you just sit back and you go, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then they say the craziest stuff, and you have to engage them.
It's like you don't want to get involved in. You don't want to. What's the word? You don't want to get into a battle of wits with an unarmed person.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I was out. It was this week, and with a friend from work, and he knows about this. This side of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this other person just brought up these issues, and he looked at me like, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm going to let it go." And then some other nonsense came up, and I popped in, and it was just was bad for them. It was just
exactly.
It's like, listen, I'm just going to give you a couple of facts, and here's the deal, and blah blah blah. But you could cite, just like you and I, because we're in the news every day. We're covering the news every day. We can quote everything that's happened in the past 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
Down to who said it and when they said it, and and that when you have those kind of facts versus people's opinions and beliefs, it kind of makes it difficult for, I guess, the non-news person to.
Well, but
I was just curious if
it's even worse when they're misinformed, and
yeah.
That we were talking about things that the media was wrong about, and we started talking about the origins of the coronavirus. We started talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, and just this.
Mine this week was
I just pointed out two things that the media now is reporting at least some. They are saying now what they were saying was a lie a year ago, right?
Yeah.
The things that they were censoring a year ago, now all of a sudden they're finding out are true. And I said, just so you know, that's just two examples. I could go on.
The other guy that was in the room with me, the guy that knew what we do,
mm-hmm.
When he said I knew it was going to get good when you said, "Oh, really? Tell me more about these ghost guns."
Well, but that's the thing.
Eating popcorn, watching me.
Here's the thing, Mike. I don't pretend to know a lot about things I don't know a lot about, right? But when I claim to know something, I know what I know.
Yeah.
And I'm also really quick to admit what I don't know.
Right.
Not everybody is like that.
Oh yeah, no, you've heard me say it before. I'm sorry, I've not been read in on that topic. It's just
right, and I'm more than willing to change my perspective when presented with facts and information. We've done it online. We've done it right here live on the program. When presented with new information, I'm more than willing to reconsider my perspective. The problem is that most people will bring you either misinformation or disinformation, or they'll just want to yell at you and try and filibuster you and, not let you talk. Yeah. And they consider that to be a good argument.
No, I get it. And listen, I thought that this part of the conversation just fit in between the Twitter and we're getting ready to start talking about guns. Mm-hmm. That we run into this a lot. The people that are the uninformed, so to speak. Let's leave it at that. So,
yes, they most definitely are. And that's the interesting part and once again, it takes us to our next story, the war on guns. Well, it turns out that many on the left may not necessarily, who've been pushing this war on guns narrative, they're really out of touch with mainstream society because as it turns out, according to Tom Knighton over at Bearing Arms, Biden's war on guns is not playing well with the public. Many in the public are taking a look at what the president is doing and they're recognizing it for what it is. And that is basically they are using guns or blaming guns for, their failure when it comes to crime.
Yep. Yeah, they're absolutely, they're looking around when you start looking at the youth of today, the millennials, the Z's, the 30s and under, the 30 and under crowd. They're smart enough to see that, okay, but maybe this is not a gun crime. This is not a gun issue. This is a crime issue. because it's almost as if the it's clicking. Well, if only the law-abiding citizens obey gun laws, then it's just the criminals using guns to commit crimes. Maybe it's a crime and criminal issue, and it's not a gun issue. That's the attitude we're starting to see. I actually saw an interesting story that I think paralleled it, Craig, and it's off of our topics, but it has to deal with abortion. Do you know the largest growing crowd or the largest growing view on abortion is those that have no view on abortion? It's grandma's issue at this point. It's not even their parents' issue; it's their grandparents' issue.
Yeah.
So when it comes to abortion for them, it's just one of those things where I just I know it's out there, but I have no opinion on it.
Well, what I will continue to say is that the interesting thing that will happen if Roe v. Wade, or when Roe v. Wade is overturned, the thing that it will do is will allow us to actually have the conversation. And I think that's important as to when life begins, because I think the science has changed a lot between 1973 and today. And so knowing and understanding and recognizing that and being able to have that conversation, I think is vitally important. Because once again, as we learn more, as we know more, then maybe we need to reconsider. Now, I will tell you what the other thing that's being revealed in having the conversation is there are some very, very radical folks who so believe in abortion that they are actually even supporting the concept of infanticide. And there's a bill in California where they want to protect a woman's right to, they want to basically say that a parent gets to decide if a child is wanted or not, even after they're born. And that's crazy. That is infanticide. That's talking about killing children up to 7 days old. Now, I don't think that many of them intend that, but the language says that, and they're willing to defend the language.
Listen, there's consequences if you don't read the bill. There really is. And if it's killing a baby up to 7 years old, well then, you should have read the bill.
7 days.
7 days. I'm sorry, up to 7 days old, you should have read the bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, by the way, speaking of reading, Mark Meadows, have you been following? So they have over 2,300 text messages from that were sent to and from Mark Meadows. That was the president's chief of staff there at the end of his term on January 6th. Now, these messages were given to the House January 6th committee, and somehow CNN got a hold of them. Now, we all know, and this is the reason why many people are refusing to provide data and information and messages. You have John. No, what is his name? Anyway, you have one of the president's lawyers. They want him to give up all of his files and communications with clients, and he's like, no, I have to go through it and redact it because there's some confidential information, some privileged stuff, communications in there.
Right.
And because this is what's going to happen. Whatever you give to the committee is going to wind up on CNN. Right? It's going to wind up on CNN. Now, interestingly enough, in these messages are a bunch of things. Number one, CNN's trying to make it sound like, oh my God, there were all these communications, and they're trying to talk about how they're going to overturn the election. You notice there's not one mention of any attempt to have a coup. There's no attempt at an insurrection. When they talked about overturning the election, it was largely about how do we expose election fraud.
Right. Yeah. And CNN, I love the way they write their story. They again, in the first paragraph, it's the lies of the stolen election.
Right.
So they lay that down, and then they continue into we have to overturn the election, but they never reference back to the fact that again, the voter fraud, and that's what they're referring to, is how to expose the voter fraud before the January 6th deadline. And by the way, the January 6th deadline, where you see everybody acting about the January 6th deadline, was, is there a legal manner to extend the January 6th deadline until these other court cases come back? It was never about we're going to overthrow and coup and take the place of Biden. It was, we need to find the time to allow the legal process to take place rather than swear in a new president and then have them February 15th say, oh, we did find election fraud, but it's too late. We already sworn in a new
And
president.
that is exactly the point that I don't hear made enough. This was never, I mean, anyone who was talking about postponing certification of the election, no one was saying don't certify it. They were saying postpone the certification so that these legal cases can play out, right?
Yes.
And that's not trying to overthrow an election. That's simply just trying to say, look, we got these legal challenges and they need time to play out. I mean, unfortunately, our electoral system, the calendaring of it is not set up in a way that is very friendly, because in many cases, a lot of the stuff that they needed to do, they were relying on the states to do their audits, and many of the states it just took them too long to do their audits in order to have the data that you needed to make a legitimate case in court.
Well, back in the day, back in the day, right? You had, think about it, from the first Tuesday in November, as long as it wasn't the November 1st, so anywhere between the 2nd and the 8th, the election would occur, and then you had until the 6th for certification of January, 6th of January for certification, and 20th of January for swearing in, and that was pushed back. Also, it used to be the same time. I remember the president used to not to get sworn in until he got sworn in the same time as the congressmen and the senators did, but they pushed that back also. Craig, in the olden days, we're talking 200 years ago, 250 years ago, it might take 2-3 weeks to get something certified and find out if it was wrong. And if it was wrong, they had the opportunity to go to a judge, and a judge decided, and that was it.
Right.
But during that time period, guess how many judges there were between the local level and the Supreme Court? There might have been one extra layer, of courts. So you got it done. You rode the horse down to the state capitol, got their decision, and that was it. It's just now there's so many additional layers, and the appeals that are allowed now because of so many different layers and circuits. You're right. There's not enough time. Back then, even if there was an appeal, it was ended 24 hours later. It's not this waiting. There's still court cases out there. Arizona's still hanging in the balance. It's still going on, and we're over almost a year and a half past the election now.
Well, and what the other thing that's interesting is that they talked a lot about messages that he was getting on January 6th, and he was noting that, look, we're working on it. We're working on a response from the president, and yada yada yada. So there's a lot of communications that no, the president wasn't just ignoring what was going on. They were trying to figure out exactly what to do and how to respond. And there were people who, by the way, who were in the Capitol who were tweeting and texting. It was also interesting because we're finding out that they were getting a lot of misinformation. There was one message where they were being told inside the building that there was an active shooter inside the building. Now, mind you, there was only one person shot. There was only one round of gunfire, one person shooting people, and it wasn't a Trump protester.
Nope. Nope, absolutely not. So, yeah, there was a lot of craziness going on, and it was that way on purpose too from a lot of the liberal left media. So trying to make it look as though it was the insurrection, right, and not just the tour group getting souvenirs.
Well, they're trying to go a very, very long route in trying to tie things together in order to make it Trump's fault. But Occam's razor ought to be the rule of hand, and that is that, look, there were some people there who just got out of hand and went in the building, and they did what they did. Because it was funny. I'm explaining to this person, the person we were talking about earlier, look, there were hundreds of thousands of people there. Only about 700 went into the building, right? Very few of the total number of people actually went to the Capitol, and even fewer went into the building, and a handful of them were engaged in violence and destruction of property. And no one is saying that they shouldn't be held accountable, but let's not act like all hundreds of thousands of people were storming the Capitol.
Yep, very true. It's funny you mentioned Occam's razor. I made that point to somebody the other day. Said, just flat out told him, I said, hey, before you start getting into this and making this as big a deal as you have to, just remember, the simplest answer is often the most correct. And they were like, huh? What? And they'd never heard of Occam's razor before, so I don't know. I don't know how you and I came up with that in the same week, 3,000 miles apart. Nobody else in the middle seems to have heard Occam's razor. I
Well,
don't understand that.
because here's the point, Mike, is that liberals. I always say that you have to go through a lot of intellectual gymnastics and mental machinations in order to make liberalism or progressivism make sense.
Right.
Occam's
True.
razor. Conservatives tend to gravitate more towards Occam's razor. Look, the simplest
Yeah.
answer is more than likely the most accurate.
Yep. 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 It's a pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. All right. All right. Let's move on. I'll let you move
All
on.
right, so we hear a lot about gentrification, right? But mostly it's about gentrification of urban black neighborhoods where that were largely or predominantly African American. You have people who move into those communities. They work and help fix up those communities. They make it more expensive so that the people who are there renting can't afford to live there anymore. So they move out, and more of the upwardly mobile or wealthy move in. Well, now evidently that is not just happening in the black community. And there was a piece today in the LA Times that I just had to bring up, and that was the gentrification of gayborhoods. First of all, I had never heard of this phrase before, a gayborhood, but I definitely knew what one was. A great example is the Castro district there in San Francisco. In Sacramento, we have a community known as Lavender Heights. But one of the things that we have that is interesting that's noted is how these particular neighborhoods and the establishments that they're part of, or the establishments that are in those neighborhoods, they are definitely not as LGBTQ as they once were. They're a lot more mainstream now.
Yeah, they are. And we had. I also don't think I would have heard of this beforehand, except for there's an area in Tampa, Florida, which is about an hour away from me, called Ybor City, YBOR, and they have an LGBT community there, and they call it Gaybor inside of Ybor. So, so I guess that's, otherwise I never would have heard of Gaybor hoods either. So it's just. But hey, listen. Props for coming up with a cool kind of phrase for your neighborhood. That's kind of nice. But yeah, it's crazy. These are the people that are talking about this, Craig. They're out in San Francisco, are those that have been embedded there since the 70s. So post 60s hippie movement, and in the 70s, late 70s, when you really started to see the I don't know what we call it, alternative lifestyle community moving into San Francisco, and we know that's. Really where America first got the alert of AIDS and HIV came out of San Francisco as well. So there's tragedy there that tied that community together with the AIDS epidemic, right? There's obviously the hate crimes that they had to endure over the years, and now these people that they're aging out, they're realizing that maybe that their uniqueness isn't so unique anymore. And they're losing the identification of their neighborhood. I think in the article it quoted, how many sorority girls can we have come into our gay bar before they kill it? It's just, they're in there for, a good time, and it has nothing to do with being LGBTQ or whatever.
Well, there's a club here in Sacramento that's long been known as an establishment, largely frequented as, basically it was a gay bar. And it's there in Lavender Heights. And what you had happened was you had all of a sudden the young single women started going there. Yeah. And then because the young single women were going there, straight women were going there, all of a sudden the young single straight men started going there. And now it's just a mainstream club that probably had, that is open and friendly to the LGBTQ community.
There you go.
And it's funny because even in this article, they said these always winds up devolving into like you said, the story about the sorority. But I once again I find it interesting because they really didn't have much of a concern when the black community was bringing this up, and now all of a sudden it's happening to them. And by the way, one of the things they noted in here with dude's rent went from $2,300 a month to $5,200 a month rent for a place in San Francisco. Now, with that, I'd move out. When moving to Sonoma is a cheaper option, the place is expensive.
Listen, and it's not LGBTQT related, but in New York City, because of how much cost in Manhattan, they've decided moving out of Manhattan is the thing to do. And you go into Brooklyn and places like Williamsburg now that were just horrible places before, and you didn't want to go. It's the younger generation is coming and taking over and making it all artsy fartsy, and they blame it. There's a comedian out there. They blame it on white girls. It's white girls that do it. They come in and they go, Brooklyn's mine now, and they just move in and it changed their neighborhood.
Well, as you get people who want to live closer to where they work, and by the way, the place where they're working pays very, very well. You are, like I said, you already saw this happen with the black community there in San Francisco, and now it's happening with the gay. I'm wondering, what's going to happen to Chinatown? Are we going to see the same type of gentrification there?
I'll tell you what we have seen, and I've been up to New York recently, is Chinatown's growing. In fact, Chinatown moved is taken. It has so much in the city of the borough of Manhattan, that Queens now has their own Chinatown. It's just that Chinatown continues to grow and stays identified, and I think most of that's because of the language barrier, Craig. Right. Whether it's a black community or LGBT community, we all speak the same language. But when you go into a Chinatown, you're hard pressed to find some people that speak English at times. And I think that's the reason for that cultural still bonding together.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. All right. Hey, let's move on to our parting shot. And now normally I'll just pull out different images and photos for our parting shot. But we actually have a whole thread on Business Today, that we can use, and it all has to do with Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and the hashtag leaving Twitter thing, and it tended to be very popular. Now, when I first pulled it up, I thought it was people saying they're leaving Twitter, but it's really conservatives mocking liberals who say they're leaving Twitter. So we'll go there. This first one, I love this. Here's the first one. Leaving Twitter equals if Trump wins, I'm moving to Canada also. Yeah, that's exactly what a lot of people said. And funny how almost none of them left.
None. Well, Canada doesn't want them either.
Oh, here's one that I really love. People are tweeting they're leaving Twitter. The rest of us.
If you're listening, folks, it's a picture of a guy just holding the door wide open. Here you go, folks.
There you go.
Here's the door.
There's a door. Not that one. Oh, here's one. Oh, you guys will like this one. Dear leaving Twitter, hashtag leaving Twitter, delete Twitter. Let me get the door for you. I went to kick on it, and boom! It's a guy kicking down the door. Let me open the door for you.
I think that's Macho Man Randy Savage in his later days, his large-waisted days.
Gotta love that one. Hold on, those are kind of interesting. I heard the extreme left was leaving Twitter, so I decided to check it out again.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, there we go. This is the one I wanted to get to. Go ahead and read that one, Mike.
It's got the founding father doing the pointing at you gimmick, and it says, do not allow yon portal to strike thee upon thy haunches as thee makes thy egress. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's almost as good, though, as what they're going to be calling Twitter.
Oh, snap. I forgot about. Oh, yeah, that's right. Not Twitter. The alternative to Twitter.
Yeah, what they're going to be calling the alternative to Twitter.
The liberals are going to go and they're going to start their own Twitter, right?
Yep.
And this is what they're going to be calling it. They're going to be calling it bitter.
Bitter. Again, for those of you just listen on the podcast, it's that screaming, crying woman from the election, and it says bitter.
It's got a green bird behind her, and underneath got in the same font as Twitter. It says bitter.
Yeah. Bitter. Bitter. Oh. I don't even know her.
Oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh my. This is too much fun. This is almost as much. No, it's not almost as much. It reminds me of the night that Donald Trump won the election and watching liberals completely and utterly lose their minds.
Listen, maybe you don't remember it this way. Maybe you do. We'll find out. When Donald Trump, when the word came in that he was winning, that he'd won, that he was going to win, that all of the Hillary nonsense didn't work, and he walked back on stage with his family, it was the same walk that Joe Pesci did at the end of My Cousin Vinny when he knew he had won,
Yeah.
but the judge hadn't ruled it yet. It was that, hey, what do we got?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Oh, I know, because I was surrounded by. I was at my brother's house, who's a liberal.
Right.
I was at his house, and I was surrounded by leftists who were just utterly losing their minds.
Yep.
It was like Christmas. It
Yep.
was.
It was great stuff. Great stuff. Yep.
All right, Mike, let's call it a day. It's time to give a shout out to our sponsors.
Let's say hey to our good friends at Guerrilla Machining, Grid Defense, and of course the fine folks at the California Republican Assembly.
Folks, the links the links to their websites are in the description to this video. Please make sure to hit them up, visit them. I know you'll like what you see, but if you like what you see, make sure you kick them down a little cash, buy some product, become a member, whatever it is, but support them as they support us supporting you. Right.
Just like that.
Also remember, like, share, subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same. With that, we will be heading out now, and we will see you tomorrow on Hump Day.
Emus Metropoli.